Hey, it's Jose Galison of No Way Jose. You can find me on the No Way Jose YouTube channel. You can also find me on every major podcatcher and Odyssey as well. I'd like to give a little bit of credit to Justin Campbell, or at JCamp1521 on Twitter. He's the one who did that glorious intro you guys see. I always forget to credit him because I'm a piece of shit like that, but I'm doing it today, and I'll try to do it more often. Today, my guest is Caleb Brown. We're continuing or finishing our live stream series, or not live stream, live reading series of an Agorist primer. This will be the last chapter. This might be a little bit shorter. We'll see how it goes because it's a pretty short chapter, but we'll see how much we milk out of it. As always, for people who aren't aware of the format here, if you're watching this on the 25th when this came out, this is a live stream. But immediately after, I will put it in like private and listed, whatever, and it will be then basically only available for the patrons. It will also go up on Odyssey though, so because it mirrors, and so the fact that I live stream made it mirror on Odyssey. So if you don't want to give me money, you can go to Odyssey as well. I'm all about that. If you don't want to give me money, go to Odyssey. You can get that immediately if you don't catch the live stream. My Patreon's patreon.com. So no way Jose 2020. The lowest level is $2. That gets you that basic being able to get access to it even when it's like in between live stream. Because a week later or so I'll drop it public. But yeah, I have different levels too. The highest being the $20 level, the sponsor level. And obviously, I'm going to read off my sponsors as a perk. Sponsors are CD McRae of the Whiskey and Tea podcast. You should go check her out. She just dropped an episode with me and her not too long ago. And I have at SpaceCat2K on Twitter. Go check him out. He's good stuff. I've done an episode with him. I had him on for the $10 perk, which is he got to curate his own episode. So I brought him on for that. I have Jacob Wintergrad of the Daniel 3 podcast. It's good, covers a lot of biblical anarchy and stuff like that. Good for that type of content. And I have Liberty Down Under. I believe that's his at on Twitter as well. And then I believe he has the Liberty Down Under podcast. He covers a lot of stuff about because he's in Australia down under. If you didn't catch that, so a lot of stuff going on there. So he's a Liberty guy over there in Australia dealing with all that shit. And yeah, like I said, we're covering an Agorist primer today. I already have confirmed. I just hit up Sal last week. We will be covering New Libertarian Manifesto, and we'll be starting next week. We'll be hitting that up. So you'll see that. I know I have noticed too the numbers have gone down a little bit for these, and I'm fine. I don't really care. That's not like a thing I focus on too much. But I've been enjoying these, and I think this will be a little bit more evergreen. And eventually I'll get back to a little bit more of the normal content I'm doing. But I've been enjoying knocking these out. But if you guys enjoy that too, keep checking them out. I mean, if you guys want me to cover other stuff, let me know that. But then I'm probably gonna do what I want to do. For upcoming stuff, we have on Tower Gang. Tomorrow we have Chrissy Mayer on Tower Gang. Tomorrow the 26th. So if you're watching this when it goes public, it'll already be out, and you can go back and check it out. I'm sure it'll be pretty funny. And once again, we're still sitting in the same spot with the Bert Kreischer thing. With Bert Kreischer, he confirmed to come on. We still haven't heard back from him, so I don't know. I mean, he's a huge guest. He has almost 1 million followers ish. So I don't know if he just got lost in the mix. So if you guys want to do us a favor, go throw a at the Bert Kreischer when you're going on type thing to bug him, to remind him if you want. If not, I don't know. We won't. I don't know. We'll keep pestering him and see what happens. As always, go check out TopLobsta at toplobsta.com. Use Jose at checkout for 10% off. We are basically partners there. So if you want to help out Tower Gang, you want to help out No Way Jose, go buy some of his merch. And also his merch is the shit. He does so much work for everybody. With that, yeah, let's go and bring on Caleb. We'll get into it. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling, a little sick, but getting by.
Yeah. Oh, hey, David, I see you in there. Hey, I just real quick. I know this is bad podcasting content, but I saw your DM. I keep meaning to get back to it because I'm really bad about keeping in touch, and I see it. I will reply eventually when I get around to it. I'm a busy man. But yeah, you're a little under the weather. Your allergies seem to be getting the best of you, possibly. I know that feeling. They flare up every now and then for me too.
Yeah.
Ironically, I'm allergic to cats, and if I don't keep on my daily dosage, and I'm really bad at remembering to take my allergy pills. So
Same.
yeah. So it fucks me up.
Yeah,
But
I have a cat, and it's normally fine. But if I miss one day of the allergy pill, like I ran out, I'm like, I'll just get
Yeah.
some the next day. I didn't do it. boom, this kid
Yeah,
killed me.
same here. And I have I mean, a lot of people know this, but maybe even follow me. I breed hairless cats, and they have reduced allergen, but they're not 100% reduced. And because we have multiple, it does flare up. Now, if I just had like one Sphinx, I probably wouldn't have to take allergy pills at all. But considering as I have a horde of them, it's a different story. But yeah. So for those out there who are curious and getting like a Sphinx, a hairless cat, be aware if you're like incredibly allergic to cats, you may still get flare ups. So keep that in mind. But they are reduced allergen. They aren't technically hypoallergenic. Yeah.
Good to know.
So I don't know if I think I said it already. This might be a little bit short one. This is the last episode or last chapter, but I'm looking forward to it. If it's short, it's short. It is what it is. Don't want to be short in 30 minutes because it's always weird when they go that short. But
Yeah.
I think we have like 8 pages, so we can probably make it last a little while. So
We can do it.
yeah. All right, you ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Feel free to stop me at any point, and if you have anything to say on the matter.
Yeah.
At this concluding point, we would like to tie together all we have learned. Thus, we can see clearly the path to be taken with a view to ending up with a new ability, to figure out how each of us can best walk that path to our own advantage. So let us begin by visualizing that pathway. Next section, the road from Agora. Since we have some picture of an Agorist society and an all too good picture of a status society, let us connect them by slowly degenerating one into the other. Since it is usually more difficult to see how the real here and now becomes the possible, let's run the film backwards. Let's start with an Agorist society and run backwards in time to what we have now, a status society. I think it's about to get into a point that I like because it kind of makes me think of how, and it's something Hoppa goes into a lot, and how states were formed in the first place, because it kind of does. He really does start. If I remember this section correctly, he kind of does start to illustrate how a free society can slip into a status society.
So yeah, I just did a podcast with Legally Evelyn from Twitter on her channel on what must be done, which he kind of goes into how the state was formed. So if anyone wants to hear me talk more with somebody about that, look up on Twitter. It's over there.
Yeah, no, it's a good. I've read that one as well. But yeah, she's a good guest too. I've been meaning to get her on before, or get her on her, him, whatever. Get her on the or on Tower Gang, because she strikes me as someone would be funny. But being as she's over in England, it makes for a bitch of a schedule.
Well, that's why I almost didn't show up. I got home from school. I was gonna take a little nap because he said 7:00, and then he texts me and he says, "Hey, we're going on 15. Where are you?" And I'm like, about to take a nap, so I had to hop in there and no prep, zero. I was tired, out of it, no caffeine, no prep, but I did all right.
Yeah. Now she, for those who aren't aware, she's in England, and she's like a super based Hoppian, and then like also like a tranny, which is like, it kind of lives up to the stereotype with Hoppians.
Yeah.
They're all either trannies or super into anime or both.
I'm still waiting for the Hoppa Fanboys to come out.
Yeah.
Like, where are they at?
You gonna get you some bussy?
I want some bussy. You know what I'm saying?
Bussy. All right.
Love that word.
The state exists because of mystique that confers upon it the sanction of the victim. Thus, we each must have lost our sanction of the state for the Agora to have come about. Very well, running the film of this in-between period backward, it should appear that some mental plague is infecting contented Agorists to persuade them, one by one, to give up their freedom and submit to control by some embryonic government, a criminal gang with a good line of buncombe, which I honestly have no idea what the hell that means. At first, the state would be able to tax and mobilize only its followers. It would be a voluntary organization, sadomasochistic to be sure, but still tolerated by the unaffected Agorists. Every time the state tried to prey on insured Agorists, it would be brought to arbitration and restitution in force. Still, against all reason, the infection grows, and the state is too powerful now for restitution to be enforced. Some privileged people are able to live successfully off plunder and be protected by the mindless subjects of the new state who will sacrifice their own property and even their lives so that some may live off others. Remember, this is the opposite of how people think sanely, because we are deliberately going backwards. It should be a comfort to know that this route is highly unlikely in a forward direction. I don't know if I 100% agree with that necessarily, because I do think there is something to things slipping back into it. Because I mean, it happened in the first place, so like, how the hell did it happen in the first place? But I think it may be a slow thing, and I don't know. But that's a definitely a deeper topic, and something like you kind of alluded to. Hoppa covers a lot, so if people want to look into that, Hoppa does a great job of covering that type of content. The state now has its power elite, ruling class, conspiracy, or whatever term you like best. They can distribute some of this unearned wealth to bribe agorists who have little conviction and a weak will to join the infected masses. Now the state reaches a level that permits it not only to stave off the protection companies, but actually to attack them. At this point, the companies go underground or counter-economic, still enforcing contracts among the remaining agorists and those who are not, being very well defended by the inefficient state apparatus, as well as those who are not in favor with the statist top level elite. Otherwise, people look out for status enforcers as much as possible and develop evasive techniques in order to keep their manufacture, trade, and services from detection and capture. They develop counter-economic techniques, and they keep on going. Finally, the state compels its new citizens to give up their gold for worthless paper. And then the state divides into several states and mobilizes the citizens to get to see which ruling class will get the biggest share of the tax plunder. Sound like we've gone a little crazy in imagining anyone permitting this? True enough, but unfortunately, this craziest picture of all describes nothing less than the reality we live in right now. And I do want to touch on this is something that Rothbard did bring up, that this is like in his history of money and banking.
I was actually going to reference that. Yeah, I was going to reference
Yeah.
the opening part of that book is he goes into this how I think it was Maryland. I want to say I can't remember what state it was. It started with the paper currency, but you read them and they're like, it didn't work out. No one liked it. And then a year later, like, we're not gonna do it. Then a year later, they did it again, and it kind of just kept doing it. To eventually, they're like, well, we can't go back now, and they fucked everybody over.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I do want to point out, not necessarily to completely disagree with Konkin, but the way he's kind of framing it is almost like, oh, this would be crazy. And it's like, well, this has happened. So that's exactly a thing that has happened. So, I mean, I get the idea of, and I don't think, like, say we did reach a libertarian society or an agri society or something akin to it or pocket of it. I don't think it would be this like quick thing, but it would be this thing that kind of pervades over time. Because, yeah, I mean, like you just pointed out there with the money thing, it's not like they immediately are like, well, fuck you, this is what you're doing now. It's like they find ways to propose it as something to be beneficial. People buy into it. And then it really, you can apply it to all the COVID stuff too, and how they've gone about this stuff. It started as 2 weeks. Yeah. Oh, just 2 weeks. We're going to do 2 weeks. And now here we are.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is basic persuasion, like tricks. Like, you ask somebody for something little, and then you kind of like, it's kind of take an inch, or you give them an inch, they take a mile. Like, once you've gotten somebody to give a little bit, I mean, this is a sales technique. If you can get someone to just buy in a little bit, you can get them to buy in more over time. So, and it's different with a state because it's a sales technique, but it's also to some extent it's enforced. So like once you change your mind, you're like, well, no, here we are. You agreed to it. So
you're locked into the Ponzi scheme. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. The path from here to Agora now becomes blindingly obvious. As more people reject the state's mystifications, nationalism, pseudo-economics, false threats, and betrayed political promises, the counter-economy grows both vertically and horizontally. Horizontally involves more and more people who turn more and more of their activities toward the counter-economic. Vertically, it means new structures, businesses and services, grow specifically to serve the counter-economy. Safe communication links, arbitrators, insurances for specifically illegal activities, early forms of protection technology, and even guards and protectors. You better say something or you're just breathing there.
Breathing, yeah.
Eventually, the underground breaks into the overground where most people are agorists, few are sadists, and the nearest state of enforcement cannot effectively crush them. Do you have anything to add to that? That's something that popped in my mind, but I forgot about it completely.
I'm going to have some bad.
Man, I had something good. All right. These agorist condensations are highly vulnerable when first exposed, but will probably evaporate back into the anonymous masses when seriously threatened. Oh, I know what it is. I forget. You might know. It was when the founding fathers had that line about like it's like to persist or to keep liberty, you need like an educated and continual mass. I guess it's kind of like a democracy argument of like you need a well-educated. I
Yeah.
wish I could remember which founding father said it. Go on.
One of it sounds like to me was I think it was James Madison had no sorry Adams. One of his two said this constitution we built is for moral and virtuous people. I can see another one saying something about an educated populace.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. If it's not Thomas Jefferson or Alexander Hamilton, I can't remember any of them.
Yeah, which I mean that's kind of what I'm getting at here is even though we're not talking about like a democracy, that's kind of what we're talking about, like whether slipping back into a statist paradigm or some shit. Like I think that's part of it and that's kind of the crux of agorism is I do think to some extent a state kind of is a little bit of a laziness thing. And you can even tie this into party politics and shit like that. And a lot of people are like, you need to do the work, and it's like, is it really work? Like, I get there are people who go door to door and do this and do that, but it's like, or you could like build yourself up, I guess this would be the wealth, power, and influence type thing, which I said is basically kind of the same thing as agorism.
Yeah,
it's like these are the things you need to be doing. You need to be bettering yourself so you can be a more moral, educated. Also, are creating you're building up the agora is one way to frame it. Yeah. You're essentially creating the incentives economically for people to follow this route. But once you start slipping back into, even if it's something as simple as like party politics, not to say that's like necessarily statist, if you're going down that route, it kind of is almost like this lazy thing where you're like, it's, I don't know, kind of detracts from you, if you will, and that's what kind of slips it back into that.
Yeah, the best argument against anarchism and agorism is people are too lazy to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And the state makes things easier. Like watch a block was going in about like competing contracts of multiple protection agencies, and I'm like, that's too much work. I'm just gonna have the government do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is how do I put this? Laziness is also associated with like a surrogate process, like from Krasinski. It's like, instead of working on myself, I'm just gonna attach myself to a name and then feel fulfilled through that name.
Yeah,
and so it's
and it's laziness and stupidity too, because it's a matter of because it's not even necessary, because it's like people do these things, and not to keep harping on like party politics, but like say party politics is a good example. People do these things because they think it's going to lead to their desired ends. And in some extent, it's also kind of easier than being like, I'll just make myself better. I'll, go build this business, go do that. I'll go, take this calf to market. I'll go make a garden, whatever, but it's also, but it doesn't really. So that's the thing. Like, but people don't really think these things through, and like the results of their actions, it's action for the sake of action or, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. So it's laziness and stupidity, which is part of why I like to harp on elitism a lot, because I think, elitism, becoming an elite, make yourself better. Like that is the way forward. Like
I'm an elitist, like all the way. Like I want good natural hierarchies of elite people who are better than me at everything.
Yes, and I think elites, like true elites, like what Hoppa's talking about, I think inspires others to rise as well.
Yes,
and you're, and if you throw away all that useless shit, you're kind of, you know what I mean? Like you're, I don't know.
There's two kinds of people. There's the ones who are in the gym, and when they see the buff guys, they go, I want to work out harder. Then there's the guys who go to the gym and see buff guys and go, it looks like too much work, or they feel bad about themselves and leave. And if people are going to leave, aren't going to amount to anything regardless, so it doesn't matter. And so you just got to make sure you get the right people to see the right people, and it just starts cascading from there.
Yep. All right. Finally, one grows large enough to defend itself against the nearest state. Others rally to it, and those agorists staying home under state's rule become ever richer trading ports with the first agora condensations. The rapid collapse of state taxation ability at this point will push the state to rely even more on inflation to support itself. The counter-economists abandon fiat money ever faster and use gold and trusted agorist gold warehouse receipts, hard money checks. I actually want to back up, because he said these rapid collapse of state taxation ability at this point will push the state to rely even more on inflation to support itself. Because a lot of people will say shit like, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, you're going to starve the government. They'll just make more." And it's like, okay, but, and I guess it's a little bit of a collapsitarian argument, and I'm not even. I don't like the framing of collapsitarianism, because say with like something like an agorism, like you're not necessarily, your goal isn't to collapse the state. Your goal is to build up something, but that naturally also in itself also is collapsing it. So if one thing falls, another rises.
Isn't
So
that
it's
popular liberty thing about like power isn't the power doesn't strictly grow, it is simply conserved and transferred. And so
yes,
when you start growing the Agorist state, you're going to have power being contested and being moved around. You're going to have that situation, but it's not like you're not by essence by creating a counter power, you are going to be either siphoning power from the other people.
yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's why I really liked the his archotropism. It's a good way to
Yeah.
explain multiple things. I mean,
He really is a genius. Like when
yes.
he frames it out, you're like, oh yeah, I thought I was smart.
Yeah, but my point being is because a lot of people like scoff at it, like, "Oh, you're by
Yeah.
by not giving the state money, you're gonna," and it's like, and it. I'm not even saying one person necessarily does it, but if you get people into this mindset of, because a lot of people already subconsciously sort of have the mindset, people don't claim taxes and everything. Even the most upstanding citizen doesn't like claim taxes
They don't
on
claim the
every
pennies they
little
find
thing.
on the floor.
Yeah, so like it's more about leaning into that, but not to the
Mhm.
point to where you're like, I'm gonna get myself fucked over. But in that those little things, it will cause the state to have to overreact to support itself, which will be its undoing. So, and I know that will have negative effects on some people, but it's gonna, I mean, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, okay, what are you looking in the chat?
Yeah, so someone said, I think he's trying to say Aquinas, but I don't know if he's
Aquinas.
yeah, are you talking about like Thomas Aquinas, David? Like yeah, that's not how you spell it. I'm trying to I don't know. He said it's like elites hierarchy argument for God, 10 reasons, and now I'm trying to like I don't think I'm reading this correctly. I'm trying to parse out what he's saying. Just find me on Twitter and DM me because I'm curious about what he's trying to say here.
David, if you want us to address your stuff, go get your parents' credit card and drop a super chat, and we'll hit it up at some point, probably at the end of the episode.
Is this David guy on Twitter? He's been on these chats. I'm gonna give him a follow.
Yeah, no, he's good stuff. You should totally go on his show sometime. The Road to Providence. He's got like Sunday special and stuff. I've been on his show. You definitely go check him out. All right. The counter economists abandoned fiat money ever faster and used gold and trusted Agorist gold warehouse receipts. The runaway inflation approaches what Ludwig von Mises termed the crack up boom. Paper money is completely abandoned, like 1923 German Reichsmarks and 1781 U.S. Continentals and 1787 French assignats. You should see the aforementioned novel alongside Night for a thrilling presentation of the scenario. I cannot harp on this enough. Anyone out there listening to this, Alongside Night is amazing. It's like, how Ayn Rand has her fiction that kind of like supports her theory. This is like that, but actually entertaining.
I mean, the Fountain was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
I don't know. It was okay.
Atlas. I could not get through Atlas Shrugged. I tried.
I haven't done Atlas Shrugged.
There's no point. There's no point in trying. The Fountain though, it actually is good stuff in there.
I don't know. It was good, but I didn't find it enjoyable. It really comes across to me as like Alongside Night comes off as like an enjoyable fiction thing that I don't, but it's almost like Ayn Rand was like, I have this theory and I'm gonna like force my fiction into it, whereas like Alongside Night was like, here's this fiction and it also has accompanying theory to go with it. All right. At the critical point when the protection companies can protect anyone who asks for a policy and is willing to pay for it, the state loses its monopoly on legitimized coercion. Yeah, which that's the big thing. I know when I go into New Libertarian Manifesto with Sal, that's one of the biggest things is like once we get to a point, because there's different phases. Once you get to the point where you can start actually protecting ourselves using the Agora through like protection agencies, which we kind of already to some extent have examples of that now, but not so much widespread. But once we get to that point, that's when things really start churning because it's like that's the big thing the state has to offer. It's like, hey, we're the monopoly on violence. It's like, not so fast, Bucko.
Yeah. Well, that's what Hopper brought up in his What Must Be Done lecture. Yeah. He brings up like we don't have any there's no competing elites. All elites are Kim Kardashian, who does prison reform, or Elon Musk. We have no actual elites who could offer us private statecraft. So we need to, popular liberty is right. We need to either take over a state and create private statecraft, or become the elites who can provide private statecraft. So we have competition so power can switch.
Yeah. Just so those guys know, people know, is I brought up at Real David BJR on Twitter. That's the Road to Province, Dave Brady. I've been on his show, so I highly suggest anyone listening go check him out. It's good stuff. He's like a little 16-year-old. He's knocking shit out. He's got shit way together better than I do at his age. I will say I was a lot more buff, but I was a lot more dumb too. So, but you win some, you lose some. But once the power elite realizes that it has come to this, they will throw all the force they have left at the Agora. The protection companies will defend the Agorists. The taxpayers will flee the state to the free market. The military will desert as the state runs out of acceptable pay and supplies for them, and the state will collapse. Which, I didn't necessarily 100% get this from agorism per se, but it was like multiple things I was reading and kind of reading how things work. This is in large part because a lot of people know I was active duty military and I got out. I didn't get out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been an anarchist for years, so I didn't like what I was doing. But at the end of the day, I'm very much I say this all the time, I'm an egoist. So, it's more about what serves me. But I didn't like what I was doing. I mean, I was a mechanic, so it wasn't like I was like out there like killing people, but I didn't like being part of that machine. But in reality, the reason why I got out was because of that. Because I got to the point where, because like before 2020, I was more like, yes, David, agorism is a spook. Everything's a spook. But before 2020, I was more like, it's a egoism thing. But before 2020, I was like, you know what, this thing's probably going to collapse in like 100 years ish, nothing to be concerned about in my lifetime. So I can just, live off the dole of the state, doing this job that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I can probably make like an autistic argument for how I'm negatively affecting someone. At the same time, someone's going to fill my spot, whether I'm there or not. So like, I guess it's better to be me and I can kind of influence the people that are there. Not that I really want to be there, but I'm like a decade into, halfway to a pension, like whatever. Then 2020 happened, and I was like, holy fuck, the math changed. Mm-hmm. And so I started to realize, like, why am I doing this miserable thing that likely, I think there's going to be a huge paradigm shift or shit like that in the next 10 to 30 years. And like, yeah, I guess by that time I had my pension, but of what use is a pension when you have hyperinflation and like, what are they going to do? Are they really going to are they going to adjust the cost of living for that pension to be even worth that other 10 years I put into it? Like, really? I don't think so. I'd be better off backing away from that and trying to do my best to engage with the Agora or whatever, increase my, different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different flows of money or whatever the word is for that, revenue streams, but yeah, that's why, because what he just said there, like, once the power elites realize that it's come to this, they will throw all the force they have left to the Agora. The protection companies will defend the Agorists. The taxpayers will flee the state to the free market. The military will desert as the state runs out of pay and supplies from them, and the state will collapse. Now, that sounds a little bit dramatic. I don't think it'll be the way, I think that is like true, but not the way he framed it. Like it'll be a little bit different, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm like, I think the state will probably still have people working there, but people will leave over time, because it'll be like the pay is shit, like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Anyways,
maybe give you an idea. I want to. I thought to do this on the podcast now. I have an idea. I'm gonna find some historians, sort of like experts in falls of civilizations, and then have them come on and kind of go through how did Rome fall, what was that like, and then go through every single civilization I can think of, and so they can, at the end of it, kind of go, which one are we in? And it's gonna be a fun podcast.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. I think like when you hear someone briefly or dramatically explain a collapse, it sounds crazy. But then so that's what I'm saying. What Konkin just said there, I think it's true. But if you said that to most people, they'd be like, well, that's ridiculous. It's because it's the way he phrased it. It makes it sound more dramatic and more sudden than it really is. Whereas like this is a slower process and it won't necessarily be this thing that happens all at once. Yeah. So, so it may not look that way. It's kind of like, I don't know. I just had Keith Knight on, and we did the Has This thing, and
dude.
We were talking about how the law is inherently not how do I frame this? It's not determinate. Like it's not this like it's kind of a it's very subjective. But we have this illusion that the law is this rule of law, this like these these lines in the sand, these strict rules, and it's like. But the only reason why that appears that way to us is because in the course of our lifetime, it seems that way because it's a slow process of changing. And I know one example it uses in there is kind of goes into how I forget which one it was, but it's how a certain legal thing it made it initially started out as a justification for fucking separate but equal type shit.
Mhm.
And then like decades later, now it's this same justification for affirmative action. So it's like,
Yeah.
but so it's like they're able to use that legal wording and it changes over time. But within the course of what normal people's attention span is, it seems to be consistent. Where it's like, no, this shit is not. So it's the same idea when it comes to collapse. Like when you hear someone explain it in a brief, sort of accurate, dramatic way, it sounds ridiculous. But it's like, okay, but you got to think like this goes over the course of decades. So it's like it's not going to be a sudden thing usually. So, all right. All right, the last sentence describes the Agorist revolution, accept no substitute behavior involving Agorist attacks on the state. We are strictly defensive. Some people with grudges against the state, incited because of state-murdered loved ones, may undertake some spectacular commando raids and such, but that would not be the norm. Having spelled all this out, we still have one big question left unanswered. Why has this not happened already? All right, now we go to the next section, the false dichotomy. Divide and conquer has been a statist motto and tactic since Julius Caesar. The division of libertarianism from counter-economics has many causes, but several can be attributed to statist encouragement of illogic, irrationality, and sheer mysticism. Nowhere is this more evident than in the very field of thought confronting us, moral philosophy and economics. It is noteworthy here to remember that the first economist, Adam Smith, was a professor of moral philosophy.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, first economist. That was a claim people made. I don't think it's an accurate claim. There were some early scholastics who would write about economics 200 years before he did, and they had like the first economics treatise was by a scholastic on the morality of money. So you can think ethics of money production. They were close to the Austrian school that Adam Smith was, and so if anyone wants to read more on that, ethics of money production by Joel Green and Huysman, and History of Economics before Adam Smith by Mossbod.
This reminds me of like the autism in our groups. Whenever someone goes, "Oh, the first anarchist was so and so," or a group of anarchists, so you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
Yeah, yeah. I get autistic. That's one thing I get autistic about. Like these scholastics are really good at economics, and it bugs me because so many Catholics now suck at economics, and it's like you have a tradition that is great on this, and you guys claim you love that tradition, and you ignore all the best parts of it. So I guess it's a frustrating thing.
All right, where we at? Morally, the state and its clerical toadies have separated the moral from the practical. Several strains of religious thought. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Toadies. I just said that was funny.
Yeah, it is a funny term. I haven't heard that since what's her name? I can't think of her name now. She was just on the part of the prom episode today. They did a not like a guest, but like a clip of her. But yeah, fuck it, whatever. I'm not gonna go to because I can remember her name. Kantian altruism down to Hegel's explicit worship of the state have told people to try to live morally, but always fail. Then the people Then the people were to let the state, with the blessings of the established Church of Statist ideology, punish them. Economically, the court economists have distorted and changed the laws of economics to suit the ruling group. Mercantilism, economic nationalism, Fabianism, fascism, Keynesianism, monetarism, supply-side economics, socialism, social democracy, progressivism, New Deal, Fair Deal, Square Deal, New Frontier, Just Society, Great Society, War Communism, Unspecified, Hope and Change, and middle-of-the-roadism are political frauds and economic nonsense.
Yeah. Specifically, middle-of-the-roadism, I like that expression. Middle-of-the-road to socialism is probably the best thing Mises ever wrote besides the book Socialism. It is, and this is the metric of how the government will cause a problem or not fix the problem, and then claim they need money to fix the problem, keep growing. That how that cycle goes, it can be applied to the protection, police, drug war, anything the state does. You can apply the interventionism He just writes about that one to it, and it is an incredible read, and it's only like 3 pages long. So everyone listening to definitely read it.
Yeah, I do want to point out once again, it's this matter of like intentionality or not. Like when it comes to like, say for example, he listed all these things that like the corner economists have distorted and changed the laws of economics to suit the ruling group, and it's like there is a degree of intentionality in there in that phrasing, and I'm not saying that intentionality does not exist, but it's also something that can happen unintentionally because it's just one of these things that I don't let's say with like the state and economic shit, like in general, like naturally the elites are going to like the stuff that supports what they believe, and that doesn't this is even a human thing. Like if like I don't know, like say with I talk about agorism egoism all the time. The people who like agorism and egoism, I'm going to have a tendency to, or that make arguments for them, I'm going to have a slight tendency, whether, and this doesn't even mean I'm doing it intentionally or dishonestly, to kind of be like, yeah, you're making good arguments. Yeah. And this is just a human cognitive thing that we just kind of do. It's like, what's it, a confirmation bias?
Yeah.
And so, you know, something like the state, there's going to be confirmation bias. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who do it intentionally, but it's also something that happens unintentional. So it's this thing where, when it comes to like the state, you'll tell people, they'll be like, say people who are like deep in economics, and they'll be like, well, this is what everyone believes or whatever, you know, like, oh, we can just print our way out of it or whatever. I mean, I'm sure I can think of a better example. That's the thing that comes to mind. You know what? The COVID's a good example. It's always such a good example. It's kind of like people are like, what? Why would these people lie about this? Why would they lie? This is the reigning belief or whatever. And it's like, okay, but like, you got to think the sources where this came from. And I'm not even necessarily saying these people are lying, but it's just like when someone's speaking their language and confirming what they already believe or want people to believe, they're going to naturally go along with it. By the way, David pointed out with Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, I forget what she does. She's some writer for something, but like she
was
said,
the New York Times lady who quit because of cancel culture, even though she was constantly canceling people for anti-Semitism.
Yeah. I just know she had called that's what it was, Tulsi Gabbard. She called her a sod toady, and then like Joe Rogan was like, okay, well you want to back that up? And she's like, and he's like, what is a toady? And she's like, I don't know.
The Barry Weiss, she's a great example of the left. How do I put it? What's the term for it? You're never left enough, or you're left until someone comes for you.
Yeah.
Like she was like, we gotta cancel people for anti-Semitism. And in a moment she got a little bit like of heat, or saw not even heat, she saw it's possible that she could get cancer too. She was like, oh, cancel culture is bad, guys. It's all bad now because they started canceling, they started eating their own.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I just want to point that out with the economists, because sometimes I think people get the idea with like libertarians or anarchists or agorists or whatever, that were these kooky people and we're just thinking this crazy conspiracy going on. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously, I do think there are conspiracy angles, but I think the vast majority, I think the vast majority of this stuff it's probably like 95+% of like the, you know, the ruling elite or the fucking government or whatever. It's just like just natural cognitive bias that leads them one way or the other. And then there is like a small group that are like actually legit, probably nefarious people. But
y'all talks about that a little bit, how it's more or less just, it's a machine at this point. It has a few cogs that actually make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them are just kind of like going along with the systems that have already been set up and kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah, and they just find ways to agree with it. I mean, it's the same thing. I brought up the military thing. I can't tell you how many people I talk to in the military, and I have a completely coherent argument about how this is bad, that's bad, why are we doing this? And they all have reasons they believe it. They find ways to go along with it. Like very, very rarely do you meet someone who's just like, well, I mean, because I don't give a fuck, and like I don't care if the things I do are bad or whatever, you know, like.
And egotist in the bad sense.
Yeah. In most cases, the priests, intellectuals, and rulers knew what they were doing, continued doing it until the snake oil no longer sold. Then they simply slapped a new label on the same noxious brew. Most people are ignorant of economics today and remain frightened by the subject. Most people think morality is either impossible, irrelevant, or something they can do nothing about, but which will catch up with them eventually, either while they are alive or after their death. As many sages have repeated, the truth will set you free. Even the cases where the truth was dimly seen as through the glass darkly, the liberating effects have been visible. I do want to touch on it real quick. Not to bring up egoism again, because one of the major tenets of egoism is like morality is a spook. And I do actually kind of agree. I do think it's like just made up nonsense, but it doesn't mean it's made up nonsense without a purpose. The say with like truth, how he says truth will set you free. I have no moral qualms with lying, but don't see it. I don't see it an intelligent way to go about life, creating a habit of lying. So I think you're better off habitually telling the truth within reason. But now at the end of the day, if there's a situation where I'm in a pinch and I have to lie because X, Y, and Z, I weigh the pros and cons. But generally speaking, I'm honest. But like the end of the day, if it comes down to my hide, I will fucking lie.
Yeah.
But and I think even people who say otherwise will too. So I mean, but yeah, then the truth will set you free. So I do think there is truth to that. Because I do think it's a better way to go about life, because then people see you're an honest person. They view you as an honor, like a person to be honored or whatever, So
well, I mean,
so
I'm a Christian natural law guy, so I don't agree with a lot of that, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's like we kind of circle back around, because I actually pretty much have a lot of the same beliefs as you. It's just the bedrock is different. Like I agree like with a lot of the moral things you agree with, but from more of a utilitarian perspective, because I'm just like, the things you call moral, I just call it a good way to live life.
There's got to be some meme I can make about the natural law argument for hating women, and then the egoist argument for hating women.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to make that a meme eventually.
Yeah. Rebellious religious sects often morphed into authoritarian cults, but some achieved incredible freedom, such as the Rhode Island Baptists, the Pennsylvanian Quakers, and the American Deists, who advanced the American revolutionary ideology. Adam Smith and his immediate followers in Europe created such an impact in the early 19th century trade policies that a wave of economic prosperity swept the world with just a lowering of trade barriers toward freedom. Then came World War I and the heyday of socialism, justified largely by the failure of free enterprise. It did not fail. It was stifled by internal progressive regulation and external war emergencies. With the collapse of socialism and its various offspring, such as Soviet communism and American liberalism, a vacuum has opened for an ideology to inspire and guide thinking people. Though the states of the world give lip service to various socialist ideals, they are aware, or their higher circles are aware, that socialist ideals are losing their ability to beguile. Perhaps something called libertarianism, having given up its remaining ties to liberty while promising to provide it through statism, will be the next bottle of snake oil the confidence men of the state will offer to maintain our sanctions. I like that, because that's something he touches on more in NLM, New Libertarian Manifesto, about how libertarianism, quote unquote, will be, there's likely that there's a chance that may be, and I always use like somebody like a Robbie Suave as an example of this, because like say somebody like him, like he's clearly like the establishment, type libertarian, like that is totally something that can become, and it's almost like I'm not even necessarily saying, I don't know, like how am I trying to put this? He could be something in the future that the state uses to maintain its power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess the reason types, whatever, like, I mean, they find ways to kind of be, what's the fucking communist term they use? Useful idiots. Although I mean, somebody like him, I'm not saying he's a, what's the word I'm looking for? That he's a purposeful bad actor, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of like the based people or whatever. So, but yeah, you have anything to add to that or
no? The term "based" is not cringe. Don't use it.
Oh yeah, I still use it, but like I can't help it. But
it's the same way I use bruh and blah and dog. It's just it's in my lexicon, and it would be there until eventually I get snapped out of me.
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, I can't lie. I probably will have a hard time getting rid of it, but
I will never drop cringe, copencies, and those would be the ones I never drop. But based, I got to drop based.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I say it sometimes, and I just go ugh.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll shame myself out of it eventually.
We need a new term. Yep. Something awesome.
All right. All right. The state and the mind. The state has guns and men to use them. As we have seen, however, it not only can fail to coerce a rebellious majority, it cannot even stop an enterprising minority of black marketeers and other counter-economists. which I guess to touch on that real quick, it's kind of the idea that's kind of one of the main points of agorism is that like, I mean, because people always point to like the revolution and be like, look what we can do with like a 3% majority or whatever, because 3%ers or whatever the fuck, you don't need that many to rebel against the state. But you need even less if you're doing it in a decentralized, manner to where it's like, if you're just like individuals doing shit and you say you have some sort of unformed, trading network or whatever that's not official or even semi-official, there's not much the state can really do about it. I mean, yeah, they might be able to fuck with one person here and there, but it's like kind of the point of agorism. As long as you're like being smart about it and not like overdoing it to the point to where they can royally fuck you, like no one's saying go fucking who's the one guy who got his whole family fucking slaughtered for going in the woods or whatever. I can't even think of his name. It's like the thing preceded Waco.
I don't know.
I'll think of it later. Was it Bundy? No, that's something else.
No, Bundy was the guy who killed people. He's a serial killer.
No, Bundy Ranch, or was that what it was? No, I don't know. Whatever. People probably know what I'm getting at. Point being is like you don't have to be this like thing that lives out in the fucking woods and pisses off the state and martyr yourself. Like, don't be stupid about it. All right, the state must be defeated in each person's mind. Once you personally reject its hold over you, you are as free as your intelligence. Your will to take risks and the aid of your allies can keep you. I like the way he put that. And I know a lot of people scoff when people say like something like the state is only in the mind, and I mean it's true though. I mean I get it. The state is a group of people, but that it also is true that there's like a concept in people's mind. It really is.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that it will ever be necessarily broken, but that's at its root, that's what it is. And yeah. I don't have anything to add to that.
Nope.
All right. New converts to Christianity describe a similar process, which they call being born again. Even in darkest Russia or China, entrepreneurs thrive and for a high price buy their well-being and additional freedom. Of course, any North American, Australian, or European reading this should have a relatively easier time and a higher payoff. What may be needed in addition to spreading the word and living it is some form of agorist psychology. Perhaps we can use the examples of therapy for childhood mistreatment or consciousness-raising groups for feminists, gays, and other obviously oppressed groups. I mean, not so much these days, but, at that point, it was accurate. We can all get together in small affinity groups of trusted friends and allies to dig our contradictions out of our unconscious. We can flush out the state from our heads by ourselves or together or both ways. Every law that you obey must be re-examined with thought. How does it protect life and property? If, as almost every law in our system does, it actually constricts the market or steals outright, it should not be obeyed, save when force is reported nearby and menacing you directly. I like that.
I actually brought. I almost. I don't know. Konkin said it, but I said the same thing earlier today. I was in a podcast with Tommy Salmons and Mike Mahaney earlier today, and I brought up the term tactical. Like Roman 13 to me is not. Don't obey the state or do obey the state. It means tactical pacifism. As in, when the state says, hey, don't murder people, well, of course I'm going to follow that because that's already a good thing not to do. And when the state says, hey, do this, like, well, no, that's wrong to do, so I'm not going to do it. But I'm also not going to flauntly break the law and like flaunt it everywhere. That's not my job. My job is tactical pacifism.
Yeah.
This is pretty much here.
Well, it kind of reminds me, too, of a lot of Jeff Dice thing about how like states should like start just doing whatever the fuck they want to some extent.
Yeah.
Say with like prayer in school. Say you're in some state or county or whatever, and that's a big deal to you. You're either the resounding, people in the area really are like, we want prayer in school. Like, to start doing it. And when the feds come in and say stop doing it, you stop doing it. And when they go away, you start doing it again.
So I can't remember who it was. Someone was running for office, and they said, if I win, I will cut the water and power off to all federal government buildings.
Yeah, I heard
who it was. Yeah. But no, they need prayer at school. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I passed.
Yeah. I like that though. If as almost every law in our system does, it actually constricts the market or steal outright, it should not be obeyed, save when force is reported nearby and menacing you directly. Which is kind of the point. It's not saying like go out and purposely break laws. Mm-hmm. It's just like it's in disregarding the law isn't even the right way to put it either. Because a lot of people accuse agorists of just ignoring the thing. I'm trying to think like I'm sure there's a better word to fucking describe it, but it's just a matter of like if it's a law and it's something that like, is any way a hindrance to you or actually hurts other people or shit, like don't comply with it unless there's actually some sort of legitimate risk that you are not willing to accept. Like, I mean, if you're someone who's willing to be a martyr, okay, that's your subjective value. But for most people, they're like, well, I want to keep continuing on with life or whatever. So, or even a matter of like, well, I can't afford a $4,000 fine. I mean, maybe $1,000 fine I could, especially since I'm profiting $2,000 off this fucking interaction. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really just about using your intelligence. Because I think he even said something earlier about using your head to kind of like for shit like this. Once you personally reject its hold over you, you are as free as your intelligence, your will to take risks, and the aid of your allies can keep you. So, yeah. All right. Once you have successfully arranged your life to live in the free market anarchy to the extent that you can accept the risks, which is kind of what I was just touching on, the higher the risks, the bigger the payoff, including freedom. You can and will quite naturally add to your ranks. Risks are lowered by trustworthy marketeers working together. Soon everyone will know agorists are the most trustworthy of all. Come runaway inflation and depressions, the unemployed and bankrupt in the state's economy will see unlimited jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities, not to mention the preserved wealth for capital that the counter economy offers, and join it if only to keep from starving, losing their homes, their family support, and their remaining self-respect. Remember, an agorist is one who lives counter-economically without guilt for his or her heroic day-to-day actions with the old libertarian morality of never violating another person or property. There is no membership card to fool you. An agorist is one who lives agorism, accept no counterfeits. There are agorists who trying to live up to it. There are, of course, liars who will claim to be anything. As Yoda said so succinctly, do or do not. There is no try. That's agorism. And that's that.
I love how he ends it with a Star Wars quote.
Right? He's a fucking fat nerd.
A fat nerd who can write really good books.
Right? Yeah, no, he is fucking something else.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. There's something in there that kind of caught my eye, but all right, yeah. I really like that. Like, once you've successfully arranged your life to live in the free market anarchy to the extent that you can accept the risks, the higher the risks, the bigger the payoff, including freedom, you can and will quite naturally add to your ranks. I mean, really, it's just it's really, Austrian economics put in action. That's really what it is. So, yeah. Well,
let me ask you, after going through this book, what was your big takeaway from the book?
I don't know. I mean, it really was just kind of a repeat of stuff I've gone over. The biggest takeaway from that is that my recollection of it was correct. That like, I do think a lot. I mean, no, I still am gotta go. I'm gonna recover NLM with Sal. So maybe some of the stuff, but like this is basically like 50% of all of the theory. So, and a lot of people have critiques of agorism, and after reading that, I still think a lot of their critiques are misplaced. A lot of the critiques are here.
What was LB Muniz's critique? I haven't watched the podcast you do with someone critiquing agorism, but what was
he has multiple. I'd have to, and I think we even talked about it a little bit because I had an episode with him following that up. Yeah. But I mean, I actually think he was kind of pretty on point with a lot of it because he was kind of going into how a lot of agorists are very borderline zealots, and I think that's true, which is one point I always try to emphasize because one takeaway I got, and like I said, I still have another. I gotta go back and read NLM, and I've only read Agorist Primer now twice and NLM once. But the biggest takeaway is that like it's not this all or nothing thing. Like that's why I emphasize that last thing at the end, like accept the risk type thing. But like a lot of people have this like crazy zealous shit about it, and it comes off as cringy. And I always use the example of the angry atheist. Like that is the vibe I get from a lot of agorists. And I came off because I was the angry atheist once because I'm an atheist. I'll readily admit it. I mean, I've told people this before. I try not to make a big to be clear, when I say atheist, I'm not asserting there is no God. I'm just asserting a disbelief in a God. I basically am. I'm basically what people call agnostic, but it's different. To be clear, because I always feel like I have to emphasize this:
Yeah. No,
atheist,
I love
theist,
agnostics. My
yeah,
favorite people.
atheist, theist is a question of belief. Gnostic, agnostic is a question
Yeah.
of knowledge.
Yeah.
So I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't claim to I don't claim to know, but I don't believe.
Yeah.
So
My best friend's agnostic.
yeah,
So
and
I buy with you guys.
yeah, I only like agnostics. Like even amongst theists, I find it super annoying Gnostic theists, people who claim knowledge, like in their belief. Like it's one thing to believe, it's another thing to claim knowledge. Those are different claims. So if you're someone who's like, I know this is true and there's no way you can argue this, you're like, I mean, all right. But now somebody like, and I've had this discussion with Daniel before, or Jacob. He gets pissed by that. I should just keep calling Daniel shamelessly. But I've had this discussion with him, and he's even admitted that like he thinks it's kind of silly for Christians to be Gnostic theists, because it's like how the whole point of faith is that you don't completely know. So
like my metric is that I've always in a line. It goes atheist to there's nothing. Agnostic linear atheist is probably nothing. Pure agnostic, we don't know. Then there's the deist, which is God is weird, but he doesn't act. And then there's the theist, which is God is weird and he does act. And that's like the metrics of
yeah,
where
well,
everyone where we
you're
place
looking
people.
at a thing. I look at it as like one of these, like the political compass type thing. You know how
Mm.
you have so you have one line that's theist, atheist, and the other line's agnostic.
Yeah.
That's how I perceive it,
Mm.
and that's kind of been the way I understand it. Because I don't know, I just find it annoying. The I'm agnostic, I'm not an atheist. Like, dude, you could. Those are the I don't know. Like, do you believe? Because a belief is a different question. Do you believe in God? No. All right, you're an atheist. Do you believe in God? Yes, you're a theist. Do you know there's a God? Yes, you're a Gnostic. Do you know there's not a God? You're or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I forget what fucking point was there. What were we talking about?
Fuck, I don't remember, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what our point was. We had a point, and I'm gonna think of it later. There was something that we spiraled off into another discussion. But
Zealots, critique of
oh yes, because that's what his point is. I brought up the angry atheist thing, and we went down that rabbit hole. No, yeah, that was kind of one of the main things he's bringing up is how they're kind of being crazy and like I don't know. I can't remember. He had a lot in that article, but I agreed on a lot of his stuff. But yeah,
my critique of agorism isn't really nothing to do with strategy, because I really have no problem with the strategy. My critique of agorism is that a lot of the people I deal with who are agorists, they don't seem to how do I put this? They can only see the formal meaning of something. They never see the informal meaning of anything. They're kind of a little autistic, and they can only see things in how it is formally listed and never in the informal way that's actually done. Like great example. I was talking to some agorists who are like pacifist ones about the Catholic Church has a thing called what's it called? War, theory of war, or no, whatever. It's a Catholic justification for whether war was a good or bad war or not. And if it's actually applied, no war has ever been justified by Catholic teaching. But they say, well, because the church created a standard for what a good war could be, then the church supports war. And I'm like, no, it made a standard that you can never reach. So then they can rightly say, no, this war is bad because you can never reach these unattainable standards. So it wasn't them supporting war, it was them creating a standard you could never reach to say that this war is bad, so on and so on and so on. But they couldn't see anything besides the church saying, no, war can be good under certain circumstances, therefore it's not real. Yeah. And it's just they can't see the informal meaning of things. They can only see the formal meaning, and that's my only. But I think it's more of an individual thing than an agorist thing.
Yes, like I've said before, and the worst thing about agorism is agorists. Like like I think there are, and I think some of that is because, and I think we may have touched on this in the series as well, is that it labeled itself as a left libertarian thing, and under modern context, that kind of draws in certain people. And so you end up having this crowd of people who call themselves agorists, who are coming from that or don't even really understand the philosophy or whatever. But I don't necessarily see really, and I have a hard time finding any real critiques with agorism. I can find plenty of critiques with agorists.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Because
I
my biggest thing is that I say they're the angry atheist thing, where they're like, I found this knowledge and or this new way of looking at things, and you guys are all wrong and fucking stupid. And it's like, all right, well, that's not a good way to win people over like at all.
Like I don't think agorism is but I don't think it's gonna succeed. It works on an individual level. I don't think you're ever gonna convince the masses to go along with it. But I think you can convince enough people to, like this, power is never it's transferred. So you maybe can create enough to actually like. How about you have to have elites who are gonna provide private protection when the state finally needs competition. This is gonna come from agorists probably. Agorists are gonna be the guys to provide 3%ers who become agorists who then provide protection. That's what it's gonna have to be eventually. And so I think agorism is going to be a big role in anything that any successful plan is going to involve agorism. I just don't think it's going to be all agorism.
Yeah, well, I don't think that about anything. I think and I always think that's a shitty critique of anything. Where we're like, oh, you think people are all going to be like this?
Yeah.
Like, very rarely, like for example, like say with Tho Bishop, a lot of people do that same thing. With, oh, you think you're just going to take over the Republican Party? You're going to get everyone to do this? And it's like, yeah, well, I don't think he's ever made that claim. Like, and I don't even think any agorists. I mean, maybe some have. Because, like I said, some of them are pretty insufferable, some agorists, but very rarely, I think, is everyone like, well, we're going to make everyone agorist. And like, I mean, okay, and it's not even necessarily that you need agorists. That's why I kind of always try to emphasize the idea of pockets of agorism or pockets of liberty, or like, or like a decentralized, trade network of agorists or whatever. Because it's like you don't need everyone to be it, and especially once you get enough people, you start creating the economic incentives for people to, whether they're philosophically aligned with you, just to naturally go along with it. So, and I don't have any desire. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you could make everyone an agorist, that'd be fucking amazing. But that's not how things work, So, but yeah, no, I don't know. There's valid critiques, but I think the critiques that the only really decent critiques that I can agree with are the ones who are critiques of agorists, and I haven't really heard many good critiques of agorism. So, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah. But with that, I guess if you want to drop plugs.
YouTube, Face Liberty in Praxis, Twitter, Caleb Brown 549. I saw a website called Paleotomism with a bunch of other cool right-wing Catholic post-lib anarchist monarch type guys where we do roundtables and talk philosophy. So we got new articles coming out this soon, doing book reviews. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I finally started a Patreon. You can find it. Let me say real quick. Patreon.com/FLNP, and it is spelled AND, not the and symbol, because I want to put the and symbol in there. If you, I'm interviewing Thomas De La Windsor, and if you want to watch it, it's a Patreon exclusive. You gotta pay for it. And if you pay before the interview, you can have me ask him questions. You can send me a question and ask him. So, yeah.
Are you ever gonna release it publicly, or is it just?
I might in maybe a year, but I need to have something on there. The big name interviews are gonna be only on there.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
I might do I might do one premiere live and then drop it and never put it back on there. So if you can catch it live, cool. But not, it's exclusive.
Okay, fair enough. All right, this is No Way Jose. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on all the major audio podcatchers, Odyssey, at 2020 No Way Jose. I mean, it's my Twitter handle. It's also my Getter handle. I haven't really even fucked with Getter lately, but I don't even know why I bring it up anymore. If you want to give me money, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. I laid out the perks at the beginning of the episode. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And with that, we are out. Appreciate you coming on. This has been fun. This is the end of the series, and now on to NLM.